Part 6. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Ju Yi. Chapter 51. Not only God despises her from living a good life, but also everyone despises her from living a good life, just to make her live in misery. Wei Yuxian stared blankly at the blank wall over there, not knowing what she was thinking. In short, she was not thinking of anything good. Such a tragic emotion was extremely energy-consuming. After having just had another confrontation with her mother, Wei Yuxian had no energy anymore. She cried on her stomach on the chair, and soon fell asleep from exhaustion. In her sleep, she was still uneasy. One moment she dreamed that her mother called again, and the next moment she dreamed that her mother came to her door in person and beat her hard. In short, none of the dreams are good, they are all nightmares that consume the mind. More than an hour later, she was frightened awake by a nightmare and raised her head suddenly, her body still shaking slightly. The heater in the room was working conscientiously, keeping the whole room warm. Even if you were wearing just a pair of pajamas, it wouldn't be a big problem. But Wei Yuxian still felt cold, cold from the inside out. She picked up her phone and hid under the quilt, relying on the quilt to keep warm, trying to warm her body. The touch of her finger inadvertently caused the screen of her phone to light up. She saw that someone had sent her a message, so she clicked on it to check. At first glance, it was her brother who contacted her on WeChat. At first, her brother called her several times, but she didn't answer the phone because she had muted her phone to clear her ears, and she had just fallen asleep again, so she didn't answer the phone. When my brother saw that he couldn't get through on the phone, he sent messages instead, and sent a dozen messages in a row. Wei Yuxian, what are you doing? How not to answer the phone? Why didn't you answer mom's phone call? Do you want to keep the money for yourself? Wei Yuxian, please reply to me, what the hell did you do? Can you please reply to the message? Mom asked you to transfer money, why didn't you transfer it? What kind of books are you reading? Find someone to marry quickly. Hurry up and transfer the money to mom, don't even think about hiding your money, now that you've grown so big, it's time for you to repay the debts owed to our old Wei family. Your parents spent a lot of money raising you. If you don't want to transfer money to mom, that's fine, just transfer it to me directly. Mom will transfer it to me later anyway. Hurry up and transfer 10,000 yuan to me. I'm waiting for the money to buy sneakers. If it's late, I won't be able to buy them, limited edition. You can transfer the remaining 10,000 to the eldest brother. The eldest brother is also short of money recently. The game he plays has new skins. Please transfer the money to the eldest brother as soon as possible. Wei Yuxian, did you hear that? Send me a message quickly, don't humming pretend you can't see it. The tone of every sentence was very disrespectful, and he even called Wei Yuxian by her name, not treating her as a sister at all. In the message, she was regarded as a cash machine, a walking cash machine. After reading the message, Wei Yuxian just wanted to laugh, laughing at how confident her brother was. What kind of family are these? Even her brother dared to talk to her like this, which showed no respect for her at all. He has been like this since he was a child, treating her as his servant. Now he actually came to ask her for money. One mouthful is 10,000 yuan. What shoes cost so much? Are those shoes that important? Why did he never take a look at what kind of life she, Wei Yuxian, was living? 10,000 yuan. He really dared to open his mouth, and not only that, he also asked her to transfer 10,000 yuan to her brother. Do you really think that Wei Yuxian is a machine that produces banknotes? In that family, everyone can bully her, her father can bully her, her mother can bully her, her brother can bully her, and even her younger brother can bully her. They are all very selfish. Her elder brother and younger brother would never share any good things with her, and would bully her desperately. Beat her. See what reasons they use for asking for money. Buying shoes. Top up the game. Co-author Wei Yuxian can't even compare to a pair of shoes and a game. However, this is indeed in line with their characters, because they are such selfish people, and they have the favor of their parents, so they are even more lawless. What future will such people have when they grow up? It's delicious, I'm too lazy to make it, I just enjoy it. So did her parents. She wanted to see how capable they were at raising their two sons so well. Wei Yuxian didn't intend to pay attention to her brother's message. She threw her phone aside, covered herself with the quilt tightly, and stared at the white ceiling. She felt so wrong that her family did not respect her and did not regard her as a human being. Family members are often hurt the most. His hands unconsciously grasped the white and comfortable mattress, and he used all his strength to restrain his sadness and tears. But how can this kind of thing be controlled by restraint? Her nose was sore, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but turn down, as she cried uncontrollably. She couldn't even remember how many times she cried. Anyway, she cried many, many times. She had never been so pretentious before. Although she felt aggrieved and sad and wanted to cry, she could hold back her tears most of the time. Now, no more, a little bit of sadness will be magnified infinitely. Maybe this is someone who is pregnant, emotionally unstable, and difficult to control. Even though I knew I couldn't cry, I still couldn't help crying. She lifted the quilt and pulled it over her head, covering herself tightly, and hid under the quilt to cry. She shed so many tears that her eyes hurt from crying, and she almost lost all the water in her body. After crying uncontrollably for a while, the mattress was scratched into a mess, and then she controlled herself, got up and sniffed and went into the bathroom to wash up. The self in the mirror looked embarrassed again. Every time I look in the mirror, I see a haggard face. Her eyes and nose were red, her eyes were swollen, and there was water in them, and her face and lips were a little pale. She was a little lucky that she didn't spit it out. Some people would spit it out if they cried hard, which would make it even more uncomfortable. Looking at the haggard person in the mirror, Wei Yuxian was thinking about how to deal with Fu Xuanyi's inquiry. If Fu Xuanyi sees him like this at night, he will definitely ask. Therefore, just in case, Wei Yuxian had to think of a reason in advance so as not to expose any flaws. There is no need for Fu Xuanyi to know about those things. They are all trivial matters for her. If Fu Xuanyi knew about them, he would probably laugh at her for being timid and cowardly, saying that anyone could bully her. So, what kind of reason should you come up with so that Fu Xuanyi will not be suspicious but still believe it 100%? Wei Yuxian was lost in thought. Her brain was moving a little slowly, but she was still thinking. When she walked out of the bathroom, she was still thinking. She looked at the time and saw that it was almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Fu Xuanyi would arrive home at about 6 o'clock. She still had 2 hours of thinking time. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Ju Yi. Chapter 52. The last time she dealt with it was yesterday. She cried so sadly that her eyes were swollen from crying just like today, and she was very embarrassed. What reasons did she use to convince Fu Xuanyi at that time? Oh, what she said was that she vomited when she got up and cried because of the discomfort. You can never use this excuse twice, Fu Xuanyi will become suspicious. So, if you want to think of a new reason now, what reason should you use? Wei Yuxian sat on the chair and thought, frowning slightly, feeling very distressed. She wished that Fu Xuanyi would not ask about these things, so that she would not have to worry about finding reasons. Wei Yuxian sniffed, took out a tissue and wiped her face. When she saw the movie on the table, she remembered the movie she watched before falling asleep, and an idea gradually came to her mind. Aren't pregnant people emotionally unstable? Although she hated this, she had to take advantage of it now. So Wei Yuxian threw the paper ball into the trash can, turned on the computer again, searched for a very tear-jerking movie, put it on the desktop with the sound turned off. She didn't want to watch it. She was not in the mood to watch it at the moment. She was even more afraid that she would shed more tears and become even more haggard after watching it. This was just a cover-up she used to deceive Fu Xuanyi, otherwise she couldn't think of a better reason. I just hope that this time, Fu Xuanyi can believe her carefully thought out reasons and not be suspicious. The movie lasted for more than an hour. After Wei Yuxian finished watching it, it was dinner time, and it was time for Fu Xuanyi to come back. She turned off the computer, got up and walked downstairs, and happened to bump into Fu Xuanyi, who was entering the room. Fu Xuanyi saw her when she was changing her shoes. Her eyes were a little red and swollen, and she looked like she had been crying, so he moved faster. Actuan Wei Yuxian stepped forward and helped him take off his coat. Fu Xuanyi put his big hand on her cheek and asked, "Why are you crying again? Who bullied you?" Wei Yuxian tilted her head to avoid his hand, not used to being so close to him, and said, "It's okay. I just watched a movie in the afternoon. The plot was so tear-jerking that I couldn't help but cry." She took the opportunity to tell the reasons she had made up, acting very normal, as if she was really moved to tears by the movie. Only she herself knows the real reason. As expected, Fu Xuanyi didn't have any suspicion and just said, "Next time, I will watch other genres. You are not suitable to watch these now." He believed that Wei Yuxian had no reason to lie to him, and she would not have anything to worry about in the Fu mansion. But it's not good to keep her bored in the house all the time. I have to find a few free days to take her out for a walk. He usually asked his servant to follow her, even when walking in the house. After he got outside, he had to protect him even more. He had made many enemies in Kyoto, and he couldn't stand the presence of Fu Xuanyi. Especially some big families who are targeting the Fu family. They smile with the Fu family on the surface, but they don't know what little tricks they are doing behind the scenes. Wei Yuxian is his woman, and she has 2 children in her belly. This matter cannot be made public to outsiders, as it is very dangerous for her. Even though he had the supreme status in Kyoto, he could still protect her, but there would always be times when he would make mistakes, and he didn't dare to take risks. Only by hiding her, protecting her, and giving birth to the child safely can he feel at ease. In the future, he will give her a legitimate title and let everyone know that she is his wife. Now, it's not possible. The risk is too great and he can't afford to take the risk. He can't guard against the villain behind his back. Wei Yuxian is his weak spot, so the danger will be even greater. This Kyoto is not as peaceful as it seems on the surface. It is difficult for outsiders to see the rough waves behind the scenes. Wei Yuxian said and felt relieved when she saw that he didn't ask any more questions. As long as this reason is not suspected, she doesn't need to spend more time explaining it. Fu Xuanyi looked at her soft and waxy little face and helped him hang up the clothes. There was a hint of pink on her face and she looked very cute, and he was touched in his heart. He suddenly took her soft little hand, held it tightly, and led her to the dining table. This time, her hand was more comfortable than the last time, and it had some sensuality and softness. He had always wanted to get closer to her, but he was afraid that he would not be able to control himself, so he kept a distance from her, and even exercised strong restraint when applying pregnancy oil. Almost every time he touched her soft belly, bad thoughts would come to his mind. But she was still pregnant, and it would be bad for her if he asked for it. A certain Mr. Xian never thought about whether Wei Yuxian was willing to get close to him. He only knows that he likes Wei Yuxian, wants to possess Wei Yuxian, and will never let her go in this life. Wei Yuxian was pulled away by him in a daze. Looking at their hands holding each other, she couldn't help but think of that day when Fu Xuanyi held her hand for a long time. What happened? Why did Fu Xuanyi suddenly go crazy again? Why did you hold her hand again? She was afraid that Fu Xuanyi would hold her hand for a long time this time, So she quickly came to her senses and tried hard to pull her hand back, but he held her hand harder and couldn't pull it back at all. It's over, she thought. If Fu Xuanyi didn't take the initiative to let go, she wouldn't be able to pull her hand back. Thinking of the last time, he didn't let go of his hand even when the old lady spoke. Wei Yuxian had a headache and wanted to free her hand. Fu Xuanyi knew that she would want to withdraw her hand, so as soon as she had an idea, he restrained her actions and did not give her a chance to pull away. The two of them washed their hands together, and Wei Yuxian was finally able to free her hands. However, as soon as she wiped her hands clean, her own hand was held again. Wei Yuxian. She resigned herself to being led to the dining table by him, but still couldn't be rescued. Aunt Fu and the other servants looked at their joined hands and couldn't help but secretly laugh again, because Wei Yuxian's expression was so awkward, as if there were bugs crawling on her body. After dinner was served, Wei Yuxian thought that she should let go of her hand now, otherwise she wouldn't be able to eat. Unexpectedly, Fu Xuanyi changed his hand to hold hers, and began to eat his meal, while also signaling her to eat quickly. The advantage of using chopsticks is immediately apparent. You can eat with one hand. But Wei Yuxian would rather not have such a benefit. What if she could eat with both hands if she could free her hands? The top priority is to free her hands. Fu Xuanyi was in a good mood, because holding her hand and being close to her could alleviate some of his desires. He hoped that Wei Yuxian would get better soon and stop being depressed all the time, which would be better for her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Zhu Yi. Chapter 53. Wajia Village. 3 days have passed since the last time she called Wei Yuxian. Wei's mother could not contact Wei Yuxian no matter how hard she tried. The phone call couldn't be connected, and the message couldn't be sent out. After asking the young people in the village, she found out that Wei Yuxian had blocked her. The moment she learned the news, Mother Wei was so angry that she almost dropped her phone. But then she thought about how much money it would cost to buy a new mobile phone, so she resisted and did not throw it away. Today, she went to work as usual, working in the factory, but she was absent-minded and still thinking about Wei Yuxian. Wei Yuxian, a loser, dared to hang up on her. Just hang up her phone and block her. This is what pisses her off the most. How could she ask for money when she couldn't contact anyone? Both sons are still waiting for her to transfer money. Even if she doesn't have enough to eat or wear, she can't starve her two precious sons. The two sons are the hope of their old Wei family. Especially her eldest son, who was admitted to an undergraduate university. Every time I tell her, she feels more proud. Now her two sons are short of money. They say they don't have enough to eat at school, but she feels very distressed. But now she doesn't have any money, and she doesn't know where to find money for her two sons. All the relatives at home who can borrow money have borrowed money, and they can't borrow a penny. When she talked about money, she thought of Wei Yuxian again, this loser. It is true to say that she is a loser. After raising her so much, she didn't even think about giving back to the family. I told her not to let her go to college, but she insisted on going. Even if you can't make any money, you still have to pay for it. Wei's mother thought angrily, cursing in a low voice, wishing she could rush in front of Wei Yuxian and give her a few slaps to wake her up. Suddenly, Wei's mother thought of a question: where did Wei Yuxian get the money to go to college? The tuition for college is a lot. She took all the 8,000 yuan for herself. Where will she get the money to go to school? Could it be that she has other savings? No, it's impossible. This bitch doesn't have that much ability. Part of the 8,000 yuan was borrowed from her, so the rest is gone. So where did she get the money to go to school? Did she ask someone to borrow money again? But it was impossible for anyone in the village to lend her so much money. She didn't know anyone in Kyoto, and it was impossible to borrow money. You won't know if you don't stroke it once, but you'll be surprised if you stroke it again. Wei's mother had a new idea, that is, Wei Yuxian did not go to school at all, but worked in Kyoto. The reason why this loser said he was still in school was so he wouldn't hand over his salary so he could keep it all to himself. Otherwise, where would she get the money to go to school? She has no money to go to school. She is still alive and has no other option but to work. Thinking of this, Mother Wei stopped what she was doing and became even more angry. I was cursing in my mind and mouth in turn. The co-workers next to her heard her murmuring, and as if they were possessed by a demon, they quickly stayed away from her in disgust to avoid any bad luck. In the factory, Wei's mother was hated by every worker. No one wanted to talk to her, let alone deal with her. The reason is that Mother Wei is so incompetent. The picky Su also likes to take advantage, and his mouth is also very powerful. Also, she likes to ask people to borrow money, but never pays it back. If you ask her, she will say that she will have the money to pay it back when her son finishes college. She also likes to show off her two sons. The eldest son went to a private undergraduate university and she would be blown away by her. The baby is amazing. Anyone who dares to say anything bad about her two sons will definitely be scolded by her. Over time, everyone stayed away from her. But she still couldn't realize her mistake and felt that she was not wrong at all and that the fault was all the people in the factory, so she stopped interacting with the people in the factory. When Wei's mother thought that Wei Yuxian might have deceived her, she became extremely angry. No, no. She absolutely couldn't let this loser keep the money for himself. That's more than 20,000 yuan. It's enough to provide living expenses for our two sons for several months. If all this was taken away by that loser, what else would she give to her two sons? She had to ask clearly and find the loser. See if she is reading at all. If she really lied to herself, she would definitely make her walk around without food. She must get more than 20,000 yuan. Thinking like this, Wei's mother had a rough plan in mind, thinking of calling it a day and going back to discuss it with the man. After finally getting through to the end of work, Wei's mother was the first to run out of the factory and return home, cooking and waiting for Wei's father to come back. After she finished cooking, Father Wei came back. At the dinner table, she told Father Wei what she thought. After hearing this, Father Wei thought it was possible that the loser might have really deceived them and took the money to live happily in Kyoto. Father Wei also doted on his two sons very much. He had no affection for his daughter Wei Yuxian and was only close to his two sons. The two sons are the pride of the Wei family. Among his brothers, he is the only one who has two sons. Others have to give birth to many children before they get a son. Because he has two sons, he has face at home. Father Wei said, that bitch might have really deceived us. What do you think we should do? How can we get the money now that we can't contact her? Mother Wei said proudly, I have thought about this afternoon. I plan to go to Kyoto and find someone in person. If I find that bitch, I have to let her peel off her skin. But Wei's father didn't quite agree with her method and said, Kyoto is so big, where can you find people? Can you find people? Mother Wei, then you have to go find it first before saying no. I will be able to do something about it then. Do you want to go with me? Father Wei shook his head, no, I have to go to work. If I ask for a few days off, my money will be deducted. Who will make money for my son to go to school? If you go, go by yourself. Go early and come back early. Don't delay work. After thinking about it for a while, Wei's father agreed that Wei's mother should go to Kyoto, because after she went there, it was possible to find Wei Yuxian. If she did, they would have more than 20,000 yuan. But if you don't go, you won't get a penny. Nowadays, their family is really short of money. It's okay for the two of them to suffer a little, but their two sons must not suffer. In order for their two sons to have living expenses, they would go back and forth. But he couldn't go. He had to stay at home and work. It would be nice to earn more, but what if this woman couldn't find anyone? To be on the safe side, it was better for him to stay at home and ask his co-workers to see if anyone was willing to lend him money. He had to quickly transfer the money to his two sons. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Ju. Chapter 54. Wei's father and Wei's mother's wishful thinking came true. The two agreed that this was the best way at present, so the next day after making the decision, Wei's mother set out on the road to Kyoto. Last night, she and her man made a lot of dry food together to eat on the road, so that she could save money on meals. She heard that prices in Kyoto were not cheap, so she was reluctant to eat there. The family doesn't have much money to begin with. If they spend more money, their precious son will really have no living expenses. If nothing else works, they still have a few acres of idle land at home that they have not cultivated over the years. If they sell it when the time comes, they can still send their two sons to school. It's not that close to Kyoto from their village. In order to save some fares, Wei's mother took the cheapest green train. But even so, it still cost her hundreds of dollars, and it made her heartbroken. If she hadn't found Wei Yuxian, the loser, she would have lived in vain for so many years. In the Fu mansion in Kyoto, Wei Yuxian didn't know that her mother was coming to Kyoto to find trouble for her. She had no intention of taking care of her family's affairs now. She doesn't want to hear a word about what's going on at home. Because just today, she received a strange phone call. After answering it with some confusion, she found that it was her elder brother. It's not good for the Wei family to call her. Her mother is, her brother is, and even her current brother is too. Weida is 3 years older than her. He is 21 years old, a junior in college, and he is not a good person. When she was at home, Weida often bullied her, beat her, and ordered her to do her work. If she disobeyed, she would be beaten. Sometimes, her elder brother and younger brother would beat her together, leaving her black and blue, which looked very scary. The most terrifying thing is that mom and dad favor them every time and never say a word for themselves. She really never thought that her eldest brother would call her today, because they had never made a phone call before. But when she thought about the phone call from her brother 2 days ago, she no longer felt strange. They must all have no money now, and their parents can't come up with money to give them money at the moment, so they come to find themselves. The news that she was working in Kyoto must have been told to them by her parents. The Wei family all felt that since she, Wei Yuxian, worked in Kyoto and earned 7,000 to 8,000 yuan a month, she only spent a few hundred yuan on food, and the rest should be theirs. Wei Yuxian's heart became extremely cold when she thought of this. Sure enough, what her brother said next was what she expected. He came to her to ask for money. Weida said in a very rude tone, "Wei Yuxian, please transfer 10,000 yuan to me quickly. I am in a hurry to use the money to buy a bag for your sister-in-law. Hurry up." He didn't accomplish anything serious in college, but he was very good at playing games and chatting with girlfriends. Recently, he made his girlfriend angry. She said that if he wanted to reconcile, he would buy her a certain brand of bag. He took a look and saw that the bag cost thousands of dollars. It's enough for him to buy multiple skins. But it's okay if his girlfriend doesn't coax him, because his girlfriend's family has a little money, has opened a small company, and has a wide network of contacts and other resources. And she is the only daughter in the family. If they get married, wouldn't that company become his? Therefore, he tried every possible means to coax his girlfriend, for the sake of his future career. But he really didn't have that much money. He asked his family for money, but since they couldn't get it, he had no choice but to come to Wei Yuxian for money. Anyway, the money Wei Yuxian earned belonged to the Wei family and would be handed over to his mother, who would also give it to him later, so he might as well ask Wei Yuxian directly. The Wei family has raised her for so long, and it's time for her to contribute to the Wei family. She earned 20,000 yuan in Kyoto, but he only asked her for 10,000 yuan, so he had a conscience, otherwise, he would not leave a cent for her. He spent a lot of money in college, partly because he spent a lot of money, and partly because he spent a lot on his girlfriend. My girlfriend's family has money and uses good things. The things he gives her every time cannot be too bad. Gradually, his own consumption level is getting higher and higher. But his consumption level has increased, but his family's income has not increased, and he cannot afford such a large consumption. But who is Father Wei and Mother Wei? They treat their two precious sons as treasures. Even if the family has no money, they still need to borrow money to give their two sons a good life. As soon as Wei Yuxian heard her elder brother's voice, she felt physically disgusted and said, "I told you I have no money, so please don't call me again and again. No matter who asks, I don't have any money." After saying that, Wei Yuxian hung up the phone and blocked Wei De, then her brother and father. She was sitting in a chair, and the computer in front of her was showing some economics lectures. Originally, after 3 days, her mood had recovered a little, and she could read and gain knowledge. Unexpectedly, she received such a disgusting phone call today, and her mood was gone again. The eldest brother was embarrassed, even though he was 3 years older than her. He came to ask her for money from a younger sister. Even if you ask for money, you can still use it to buy a bag for your girlfriend. Use 10,000 yuan to buy a bag. That's not her girlfriend, why should she pay for him? The Wei family are all equally selfish. They never think about others, they only care about themselves. Wei Yuxian only felt ashamed that such a family had the same bloodline. 10,000 yuan, open your mouth and shut up is 10,000 yuan, they say it is so easy. If they have the ability, they will make money on their own. She wanted to see how long it would take them to earn 10,000 yuan. Wei Yuxian paused the lecture video in annoyance, turned off the computer, and walked around the room, telling herself not to be so angry and not to take that family to heart. That family is all weird, really weird. There is probably no one in the world who is weirder than this family. She tried hard to calm down her mood, fearing that if she got emotional, she would be overjoyed or sad, which would be bad for her health. Injuring her body for those unimportant people would be too much of a gain, so she didn't want to do such a stupid thing. After walking around the room for a few times, Wei Yuxian's irritability subsided a little. She took several deep breaths, walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, and looked at the snowy scene outside without daring to open the window. It's snowing today and it's cold outside. In fact, Wei Yuxian really wanted to go out and play in the snow, build a snowman or something, or make some snowballs. She had never seen snow before coming to Kyoto, so even though it was not her first time, she was still very excited. But her current body, let alone making a snowman, Fu Xuanyi wouldn't even let her go out, saying he was afraid of getting cold. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Zhu Yi. Chapter 55. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, everything is covered with white snow, and the sky and the earth are pale. Everything is so quiet, surprisingly calming. Wei Yuxian really wanted to go outside and touch the white snow to feel the touch of the snow. Is it as good as she imagined? After she came to Kyoto, it snowed several times since winter, but she never touched the snow. Because it was snowing and it was very cold, the heating in Fu's mansion was turned on enough, so Fu Xuanyi didn't allow her to go out. After all, he was still afraid of her freezing. During pregnancy, you must pay close attention to your health and avoid getting sick, because pregnant women are very cautious when taking medicines, which may also affect the child in the belly. For Wei Yuxian's health, Fu Xuanyi absolutely prohibited her from going out when the weather was very cold. Looking at the snow falling outside, Wei Yuxian wanted to play with 2 words. She felt that if she went out to play in the snow at this moment, she would forget all her worries for a while. She still wanted to give it a try and get a chance for herself. We have all come to Kyoto, and we have seen snow. Wouldn't it be a pity if we didn't have a try? Thinking like this, Wei Yuxian fixed her gaze, dug out some thick clothes from the closet, put them on, put on a hat and gloves, and walked out of the room. After going downstairs, it was almost dinner time, and Aunt Fu was busy asking the servants to prepare the meal, when she saw Wei Yuxian walking down fully equipped. She hurriedly greeted her and asked, "Madam, where are you going?" "It's almost time for dinner. It's too cold and snowing outside, so you'd better not go out. Master Xian will not agree to let you go out." Wei Yuxian said, "I just want to go out and see the snow." "It's okay, Aunt Fu. I'm wearing thick clothes, a hat, and gloves. Such a perfect cold-proof suit will never let the cold take advantage of it." But Aunt Fu still disagreed, because no one could guarantee whether Madame would get sick just because she went out. Without Master Xian's order, they would never dare to let Madame go out. They cannot bear this responsibility. She looked embarrassed and said, "Madam, it's not that we don't want you to go out, it's that Master Xian doesn't allow you to go out on a snowy day because he's worried about your health. Master Xian is doing this for your own good. Please understand Master Xian's painstaking efforts." Wei Yuxian didn't want to embarrass Aunt Fu, but she really wanted to go out and get some fresh air. It felt boring to stay in the room all day. While they were talking, there was movement at the door. They both looked over at the same time, and it was Fu Xuanyi who entered. Aunt Fu breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that Master Xian was back and she would no longer have to be embarrassed. Wei Yuxian's expression darkened, she lowered her head, and the hand in her pocket clenched into a fist, loosened and then clenched. She knew that Fu Xuanyi would never let her go out. This man would never change what he decided. He said what he said and was very domineering. Fu Xuanyi saw Wei Yuxian standing in the living room wearing thick clothes. After changing her shoes, she did not take off her thick clothes immediately and walked over. Master Xian. Aunt Fu called out respectfully when she saw the person coming. Fu Xuanyi nodded and raised his hand to signal her to go about her business. Wei Yuxian lowered her head and could only see a pair of long legs stopping in front of her. It was Fu Xuanyi. She didn't look up and called out Actuan in a muffled voice. "The mood is not high." Fu Xuanyi watched her tuck her neck into her clothes and put on a cute furry hat on her head. Most of her face was covered, and her round shape made her even cuter. He just kept his head down, and his whole body exuded an unhappy atmosphere. "What's going on here?" Fu Xuanyi asked, "What's wrong?" Wei Yuxian pursed her lips and whispered, "I want to go out and see the snow. I have never played in real snow before." This voice, like a pitiful little one, makes people feel soft when listening to it. Fu Xuanyi looked at her and still didn't want her to go out. It was too cold outside and the heating was on inside the house, which was the most suitable temperature. If something went wrong with her, he would blame himself. However, her pitiful appearance is also very distressing. "Perhaps, you can let her go out to play for a while, as long as she keeps warm. After a while, it should be fine." He asked in a deep voice, "Really want to play?" Wei Yuxian nodded a few times, then said the word "think" in a muffled voice. "It looks like there is something going on." "Look up," Fu Xuanyi said, asking her to raise her head. He would check and let her out if there was no problem. Wei Yuxian raised her head obediently and looked at him with big eyes, innocent to humans and animals. Fu Xuanyi's throat tightened, his Adam's apple rolled, and he focused on her clothes. "There's nothing wrong with the clothes, They're thick, there's nothing wrong with the hat, I cover my ears, I'm wearing gloves on my hands, I go to the entrance and put on a pair of warm cotton shoes, and I'm ready to go out. He said, you can go out, but there is a condition. What conditions? When she heard him let go, her eyes curled up and she smiled lightly, her eyes full of expectation and filled with stars. We'll talk about it later. After saying that, he turned around and walked back to the entrance to change his shoes again. Wei Yuxian followed him and walked over to change her shoes and asked, what are the conditions? As long as the conditions are not too extreme, she can accept them. She really wants to play in the snow. Aunt Fu came up and interrupted their conversation, saying, Master Xian, Madam, dinner is ready. Fu Xuanyi said, wait a minute. Aunt Fu nodded and waited aside, giving the kitchen servants a look to tell them not to rush to bring out the dinner. Master Xian obviously wanted to take his wife out to watch the snow, and he didn't know how long it would last. It would be better to keep dinner in the kitchen to keep it warm. After the two changed their shoes and came to the door, Wei Yuxian asked again, what are the conditions? She asked for the third time, but Fu Xuanyi didn't say anything and didn't know what his conditions were. If the conditions were too extreme, she would rather not go out. Fu Xuanyi looked down at her eyes and said, hands. Hand, Wei Yuxian repeated doubtfully and took out her hand, becoming even more confused as she couldn't figure out what Fu Xuanyi was going to do. Suddenly, an idea flashed through her mind. Fu Xuanyi shouldn't hold her hand. Just like the previous two times. While she was lost in thought, Fu Xuanyi took off her gloves, took her hand and put it in his coat pocket. Wei Yuxian. Really? Fu Xuanyi clasped his soft little hand, and his big palm could wrap it well. He was very satisfied and said, this is the condition. Wei Yuxian felt the warmth of his hands, which were warm, even warmer than wearing gloves, and felt a little hesitant. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Zhu Yi. Chapter 56. If this was the condition for going to see the snow, then she didn't seem to be at a loss. Even if she was held by the hand, it was nothing. Anyway, she had been held by the hand before, for a long time, and Fu Xuanyi wouldn't do anything to her. Thinking like this, Wei Yuxian couldn't help but want to go out to see the snow, so she agreed, put one hand in his pocket, and walked out with him. When Fu Xuanyi saw that she didn't resist, he knew that she agreed. There was a smile in his eyes, and he couldn't help but rub her tender hand with his thumb a few times, as if he were rubbing Buddhist beads. As soon as he went out, he was greeted by the overwhelming cold. Wei Yuxian could feel that the temperature around her dropped by dozens of degrees in an instant. If she hadn't been wearing thick clothes, she would have been frozen to death. At this moment, all her mind was on the snow outside, and she had no intention of paying attention to Fu Xuanyi's movements in her pocket. The further we walked on the snow, the colder it became, but Wei Yuxian was not afraid at all, because the cold-proof suit she was wearing was enough to withstand the cold. She even trotted forward 2 steps excitedly, wanting to touch the snowflakes quickly and watch them fall into her palms. But she only took a few steps, and as soon as she walked out of the shelter of the villa, she stopped. Looking back, she saw that her hand was still in Fu Xuanyi's pocket, and she couldn't walk fast. Fu Xuanyi walked leisurely, holding her hand tightly to prevent her from walking too fast. Wei Yuxian wanted to walk faster, but was embarrassed to speak. It was already very difficult for Fu Xuanyi to let her go out to see the snow. If she asked again, he would be unhappy. What should I do if he is not allowed to come out to see the snow when he is unhappy? Wei Yuxian could only endure it, waiting in front for him to come up, and then walking with him after he came over. White snowflakes fell around her, landing on her furry hat and her thick clothes, but were not evaporated immediately. Wei Yuxian soon noticed snowflakes falling on her body, and looked at the snowflakes on her clothes in surprise. They were complete hexagonal snowflakes. But after a while, the snowflakes melted. But Wei Yuxian was still pleasantly surprised. This is the first time she has seen such complete snowflakes, so beautiful. It's exactly like what's shown on TV. If the snowflake hadn't melted so quickly, she would have wanted to hold it in her hands and examine it carefully. She was very happy, looking at the snowflakes falling all over the sky, feeling the tranquility, and her heart calmed down. She stretched out her other gloved hand, palm up, to catch the falling snow, watching it gather and melt. How amazing, she sighed in her mind. Nature is really magical. How can such beautiful snowflakes be condensed? Seeing the snowflakes melting into water in the palm of her hand, she had the urge to take off her gloves and really feel the touch of the snowflakes. She wanted to know what it felt like for snowflakes to fall on her hands and melt. But she didn't dare and couldn't take off her gloves. The man next to her would definitely not want to. She continued to admire the beautiful snow scene, as happy as a child seeing her favorite toy. Fu Xuanyi looked at her face unabashedly. Seeing her so happy, he felt happy inside. It seemed that she was so bored at home that she was so happy to see Shui. In the future, take her out more often. Wei Yuxian stared at the snow in the snow for more than 10 minutes, her eyes were filled with laughter, and all the bad mood in her heart was gone. In just 10 minutes, Fu Xuanyi took her back. It was too cold outside and he was afraid that she would freeze. Pregnant women's bodies are inherently worse than those of ordinary people. With 2 babies in their belly, they can't make any mistakes. More than 10 minutes is his maximum limit. Wei Yuxian reluctantly walked back to the villa, looking at the snow with eyes full of nostalgia. She wanted to stay in the snow for a long, long time. But she also knew that Fu Xuanyi brought her back so quickly for her own good, because she did feel a bit of coldness outside. The winter in Kyoto is really terrible. When I first went out, it was fine and I didn't feel cold at all. But after only about 10 minutes, I felt the chill. She is wearing very thick clothes. Seeing her reluctance, Fu Xuanyi said, I will take you out next time it snows. Wei Yuxian's withered mood immediately blossomed. He asked happily, really? Fu Xuanyi nodded and said affirmatively, really? Wei Yuxian smiled so hard that she couldn't even see her eyes. I remember. If it snows again next time, she will go out to see the snowflakes. Feel it personally, rather than looking through the window. This snow has been falling for a long time, all night long, and there is a thick layer in the yard, which can bury your feet if you step on it. When Wei Yuxian woke up, she found that the snow had stopped, but the snow outside had not melted so quickly. She looked at the servants outside cleaning the snow with envy on her face, envious that they could have access to the snow. Then I thought to myself, it would be a pity not to use the snow to build a snowman. When she gets better in the future, she will make good use of the snow and build a big snowman. Wei Yuxian stretched and began to think about what to do today. She was in a good mood today because she had played in the snow for more than 10 minutes yesterday and had figured out a lot of things in her heart. Her depression was relieved and her mood naturally became more open-minded. At a certain train station in Kyoto, Wei's mother took the green train for a day and a night and finally arrived in Kyoto. She was exhausted. She had had a very bad day and night. The environment on the train was poor and there were all kinds of people. In order to save money, she had not bought a sleeper berth and suffered a lot. But when she thought that she could save some money by suffering a little, she felt that it was okay to suffer. After getting off the train and following the crowd out of the train station, Wei's mother hugged her luggage tightly and sniffed, thinking that it was really cold in Lujing, much colder than them there. She looked at the thick coat on her body and felt that she was smart and came wearing thick clothes. Otherwise, she would have to spend money to buy a set of clothes when she came here. She heard that it was much colder here in Kyoto, but she didn't expect it to be so cold. It was so cold that she didn't want to leave. She was tired and sleepy and looked at the bus stop sign outside the train station. She was hungry but not hungry. She still had a lot of dry food brought from home, which was enough for her to eat for several days. In order not to waste time, Wei's mother steeled herself and searched for directions to Wei Yuxian's school on her mobile phone. These days, although she doesn't know how to use a smartphone, she can still check directions. What is the name of that school that loses money? It seems to be some kind of University of Finance and Economics. Oh yes, it's called Kyoto University of Finance and Economics. It's quite far from the train station. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Ju Yi. Chapter 57. If you take a taxi there, it will cost more than 100 yuan. Mother Wei was naturally reluctant to part with it. But if you take the bus, you only need to transfer 3 times and you can get there for less than 10 yuan. It just takes a little more time. What Wei's mother didn't lack most was time. What she lacked was money, so she decisively chose to take the bus there. It's great to take the bus, it's very cheap and you can save more than 10 times the money. Just like that, Wei's mother got on the bus to Kyoto University of Finance and Economics, and Wei Yuxian didn't know anything about it. Wei's mother waited for more than 10 minutes, and finally the bus she wanted came. She took out 2 yuan from her pocket and threw it in. There were so many people, and the driver didn't check them one by one, which made her confused. Passed. After sitting on the first bus for about an hour, Wei's mother's waist hurt from sitting on it. She rubbed her sore waist and got off the bus and continued to wait for the next bus. For the sake of money, what does it matter if she suffers this little? Her 2 precious sons still rely on this money for food. Even if her waist is broken, she still has to get the money. She gritted her teeth and insisted. When she got hungry on the bus, she took out the dry food and ate it slowly. 3 hours later, she finally arrived at Kyoto University of Finance and Economics. Looking at the big door, she breathed a sigh of relief. This bitch said she went to school here, but she wanted to see if she went to school here. If she wasn't in school, she was working. Mother Wei wrapped her clothes tightly, her face and hands were red from the cold, and she was extremely cold. The longer she stayed outside, the colder she felt, the kind of cold that pierced her bones, but she could still hold on. She had survived those hard days in the past, so what did this coldness mean now? She was dragging her luggage, and her body smelled sour. She hadn't showered in almost 2 days, and although she wasn't sweating, she still smelled a little bit. Coupled with her current embarrassment, she looks a bit like a beggar who just came out of society. But she didn't feel anything. She didn't feel anything strange or inappropriate about her body at all. She came to the guard room and lay down on the window. Before she could speak, she was kicked out by the security guard. Go, 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 this is not a place for you to beg. The security guard's tone was very fierce, and he looked at her like she was looking at garbage, with disgust on his face. I feel that she has defiled the sacred place of the university. These days, these beggars will do anything to beg, and they even come to the university gate to beg. The security guard thought so. When Wei's mother heard what the security guard said, she lowered her head and looked at her body. Her clothes were a little dirty, and there were some signs of mending, but she had nothing to do with beggars. Why is this man so speechless? Who are you calling a beggar? Wei's mother's violent temper was suddenly ignited, and she immediately started scolding the security guard. When it comes to quarrels, she has never lost. Even 10 women in the village couldn't beat her. Mother Wei put her luggage on the ground, put her hands on her waist, raised her eyebrows, and glared at the security guard. Who are you calling a beggar? Do you have eyes? Have you ever seen someone like me? Beggar. As a security guard, you are really looking down on others. Look, everyone is a beggar, right? I'm telling you, I'm here to find someone. Not here to beg. But thinking about it from another perspective, Wei's mother came here to ask for money. What if she wasn't a beggar? Or, the word robber was more suitable for her. The security guard is not a jobber. He has been working as a security guard for so many years. Who has never seen him and would be afraid of a shrew like her? Why aren't you a beggar? I think you are a beggar. What are you wearing? It smells weird, so what are you if you're not a beggar? I've seen people like you a lot. You just want to beg but can't save your face. What I hate the most is you. If you say you beg, just beg. Why are you so arrogant? What do you mean? I told you I'm not a beggar. Why can't you understand people's words? With your eyesight, how can you be a security guard? It's time to change your job. Did you hear what I said, that I'm here to find someone? If you don't use your ears, you can donate them to others. If you don't want to use them, others still want to use them. The two of them started to quarrel fiercely, neither one giving in to the other. As if they were not tired, they kept uttering one sentence after another. Fortunately, no one was at the school gate now, otherwise the security guard wouldn't have scolded her like this. After scolding for about 10 minutes, Mother Wei's mouth was dry from scolding, and the security guard reluctantly believed that she was here to find someone. The security guard asked in an irritable tone, "Who are you looking for?" Mother Wei put her hands on her hips and gasped, "I'm looking for Wei Yuxian." The security guard asked in a routine manner, "Which college are you from? What major? Which class are you from?" How could Wei's mother know this? She could think of Wei Yuxian studying well in this university, so how could she know these things? Wei Yuxian, a loser, was not worthy of her knowing so many things. She also said confidently, "I don't know, please help me find out if she is in this school." The security guard looked at her with strange eyes and said, "What are you doing here when you don't know anything? I'm not a police station here. I can check it if you want. You don't even know if she is studying here. Who knows if such a famous person exists in the school? Who knows what your real purpose is in entering the school?" The security guard became wary when he looked at her, not daring to let her in easily. "I heard that there are a lot of scammers coming to campus recently to deceive students. I don't know if this one is the same." When he thought of this, the security guard's eyes changed when he looked at Wei's mother, as if she was already the liar. It was nothing more than the security guard thinking so. Wei's mother's identity was really suspicious. She said she was here to find someone. When asked what college she was from, she couldn't answer. She was still wearing tattered clothes and had a strange smell. It's hard not to be wary. Wei's mother was extremely anxious. She thought she would go back as soon as she took the money, so that she could transfer money to her two sons. "You suspect that I lied to you? Why did I lie to you? What good does it do me to lie to you? I'm here to find someone. I'm here to find Wei Yuxian. She is my daughter." The security guard didn't believe what she said and said, "Liars don't call themselves liars. I think you are just a big liar who wants to go in and deceive people. If the Wei Yuxian you are talking about really studies here, then give her a call and ask her to talk to me, and I will see if she is from our school. Not just any cat or dog can enter our school." The security guard said righteously that he would never let anyone suspicious into the school. Nowadays, the swindlers are very sophisticated, and the college students are so simple. He will definitely protect those college students and prevent the swindlers from taking advantage of them. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Ju Yi. Chapter 58. In an instant, the security guard's sense of responsibility was overwhelming. It was the first time in such a long time that he was so serious about his work. Mother Wei was so angry. She wanted to call Wei Yuxian, but unfortunately the money loser blocked her. No matter how she called, she couldn't answer the call. Wei's mother could only say, "She blocked me and I couldn't get through her phone. She told me she was studying here, so I came here." When the security guard heard this, he almost took out his baton. He waved his hand a few times to drive her away and said, "Go away, go away. Even my daughter has blocked you. I guess you are not a good person, even if that Xian Zhen is studying here. I won't let you in either." The security guard felt bad when he saw Wei's mother's face and thought she was not a good person. Now when he heard that her daughter had blocked her, he even suspected that she was not a good person. How could Mother Wei be willing to leave? She traveled all the way here and spent a day and a night. I spent a lot of money, so how could I just leave? If she doesn't see the loser this time, she won't leave. Thinking like this, Mother Wei started arguing with the security guard again. "What qualifications do you, a little security guard, have to stop me? The person I'm looking for is in your school, why don't you let me in? Find your leader, I will sue you." The security guard was also angry. "Why am I not qualified to stop you? If you were a good person, would I stop you? You don't understand anything, and you are still acting up here? I tell you, it's useless. Today, don't even think about stepping on it. Take a step into campus. You should give up this idea. You don't even look like a good person, I will never let you in to harm the students." "What do you mean? Why don't I look like a good person? Who are you to say? I think you are also a high-minded person. You deserve to be a security guard. Let me in quickly. Don't delay my business. I can't forgive you if you delay my important event. I will not let you in today. If you have the ability, go to the leader and see if he will let you in." The two continued to argue, neither giving in to the other. Wei's mother wanted to enter the school, but the security guard refused to let her in. There was quite a lot of commotion here. After hearing the commotion, the nearby vendors gathered around to watch the excitement without saying a word, watching with great interest. It was at this time that Ding Nana and Chen Wei and Feng Yiyi walked out of the campus. The three of them were all dressed up beautifully, looking like three peacocks in the cold winter. The three of them wanted to eat hot pot at noon today, and since they had no classes in the afternoon, they could still go and have fun after eating hot pot. As soon as they reached the door, they noticed movement at the door, as if someone was quarreling. It would be a fool not to watch the excitement. After the three of them looked at each other, they decisively chose to go watch the excitement. As for the hot pot, there was nothing wrong with eating it later. So the three of them squeezed and squeezed past a group of hawkers watching the excitement and came to the front, where they saw Mother Wei and the security guard arguing fiercely. The security guard was very impatient at this moment. He was chasing people away with his baton and shield. "You hurry up and don't make trouble at the school gate. This is not the place for you to make trouble. Even if you make trouble, I won't let you in." "What do you mean I'm making trouble? Where did I make trouble? I already told you that I'm here to see my daughter. My daughter's name is Wei Yuxian, why don't you believe it? You guys are here to judge, but this security guard still won't let me go in and see my daughter. Do you think this is justified?" Wei's mother couldn't handle the security on her own, so she wanted to use the power of the masses to get the security to let her in. Here, Ding Nana and the other three were stunned for a moment when they heard what Mother Wei said, and then immediately reacted with smiles in their eyes. Interestingly, Wei Yuxian's mother actually came to the school. "Why?" Ding Nana walked up curiously and asked, "Auntie, are you Wei Yuxian's mother?" When Wei's mother saw someone taking the initiative to talk to her, she was still a student, and she said with joy in her eyes, "Yes, yes, I am Wei Yuxian's mother, are you her classmate?" Tell this bad security guard, there really is Wei Yuxian in your school. Ding Nana did not talk to the security guard, but continued to ask, why did Aunt come to Wei Yuxian? I am indeed her classmate or her roommate. The smile in Wei's mother's eyes became even more obvious, it was like a pillow for sleep. Are you really Wei Yuxian's classmate? That's great, that's great. Little girl, I have something important to do with Wei Yuxian. Can you take me in to find her? Ding Nana looked at Mother Wei's sarcastic look, her thin and yellow face, and she couldn't feel any good feelings in her heart. Is this person really Wei Yuxian's mother? Why does he look nothing like Wei Yuxian? But now is not the time to think about this, she has more important things to do. She wanted to see what Wei Yuxian's mother came to see her for. Maybe there would be some unexpected surprises. She didn't feel like the last post was satisfying enough, and the punishment was still too light for Wei Yuxian, but she was no longer in school, and she didn't know what to do to make it more uncomfortable for her. Anyway, she just hates Wei Yuxian. She has hated Wei Yuxian since the first time she saw him, and now, she hates him more and more. This bitch is a bitch who can seduce men. If it weren't for her, Cheng Jinjiao would have been her boyfriend. Wei Yuxian, as long as you are unhappy, I will be very happy. Ding Nana endured the impatience in her heart and asked, Auntie, can you tell me why you came to Wei Yuxian? If you are in a hurry, I will help you contact her now. Wei's mother looked at the people around her and felt that she couldn't say this out loud, so she leaned into Ding Nana's ear and said, I'm here to ask her for money. Classmate, just treat her as a pitiful ant and help me contact her bar. As soon as she came closer, Ding Nana could smell the sour smell, like the kind that came out after being soaked in a manure pit for a long time. It smells worse than Wei Yuxian's body. She almost couldn't help but vomited it out. Like mother, like daughter, and sure enough, they all have the same sour smell, and they are all so annoying. However, there is a lot of information in this woman's words. She actually came to Wei Yuxian to ask for money. Is Wei Yuxian's family so poor? Even my mother came to the school to ask for money. You know, Wei Yuxian was so poor in school that she couldn't even afford food, and she had never heard of her family giving her money. She once thought that Wei Yuxian was so poor because she was an orphan without a father or a mother. Now it seems that Wei Yuxian does not have no father or mother, but has a pair of heartless parents. Otherwise, why would her mother come to Kyoto to ask for money from her? She can't even afford food herself, so how can she have any money to give to her mother? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Ju Yi. Chapter 59. Thinking of this, Ding Nana raised a smile on her lips, endured the unpleasant smell in her nose, and said, Auntie, let's find a place to chat. This is not a place for chatting. She thought of a way to make Wei Yuxian feel uncomfortable. It is true that Wei Yuxian was very poor, but that was before she was kept by an old man. Now, Wei Yuxian is kept by an old man, and she was even taken away by the old man to raise her baby. Now, Wei Yuxian is no longer the poor girl she used to be. She has an old man and doesn't know how much money she has on hand. She looked at the sarcastic Mother Wei and thought that this woman was definitely not a light-hearted person. If she was allowed to get involved with Wei Yuxian, the poor guy would have to suffer a lot. Seeing Wei Yuxian suffer makes her happy, so she must let Wei Yuxian suffer. Wei's mother used all kinds of methods to find Wei Yuxian. Now that she finally met Wei Yuxian's classmate, and had the chance to find her, she naturally followed Ding Nana. Okay, little girl, I'll go wherever you want, Auntie. I'm still waiting for you to tell me about Wei Yuxian. Ding Nana took Wei Mu out of the crowd. When the onlookers smelled Wei Mu's smell, They all got out of the way in disgust and didn't dare to get close. Ding Nana was also trying to hold back the unpleasant smell. In fact, she had already vomited in her heart many times. If it wasn't for Wei Yuxian to suffer, she wouldn't have suffered like this. It stinks so damn much. How many days has this woman not taken a shower? Why does it stink so much? Just like the beggars on the roadside. Chen Wei and Fen Yi originally wanted to join them, but Ding Nana said, "You two go to the hot pot restaurant to order food first. I will be there in a minute." She didn't even want them to know about this. Chen Wei and Fen Yi did not dare to disobey her order, so they had to take a taxi to the hot pot restaurant first. In fact, they didn't really want to follow her. After all, the person who claimed to be Wei Yuxian's mother was so stinky. I don't know how she managed to smell so bad even though she was wearing such thick clothes in the middle of winter. Ding Nana took Wei's mother to a remote place. After checking that there was no one around and it was safe, she stopped. Seeing that she finally stopped, Wei's mother rushed up to grab her hand, but Ding Nana dodged her, and she didn't care, saying, "Little girl, please tell me where Wei Yuxian is. We can't open the pot now at home. If I can't find her this time, I will starve to death when I get back." Wei's mother had completely forgotten one thing, that is, Wei Yuxian was already in college, so how could she have time to work? How come he has a salary of 20,000 yuan? Her mind wasn't very clear at the moment, she couldn't turn around very fast, she was tired and sleepy, and all she wanted to do was find Wei Yuxian and ask for money. Nowadays, asking for money is her main task. If she couldn't get the money to go back, her two sons would really have to suffer in school. No. How could she watch her precious son suffer? She absolutely can't do it. She must get this money today. If Wei Yuxian can't be found, she will never go back. At this moment, she was a little crazy and fell into the eyes of money. Ding Nana covered her nose and silently took a few steps back, staying away from her. Wei's mother probably noticed something was wrong with her, so she didn't follow him. She could only pretend that nothing happened and waited for her reply. Ding Nana took a breath of slightly fresh air before speaking, "Auntie, actually, Wei Yuxian is no longer in the school." Wei's mother suddenly frowned and asked, "She's not in school? Then where is she now? Can you contact her, little girl? Auntie is really worried. Can she not be anxious? If this little girl can't even contact the loser, where will she go to find the loser?" Ding Nana, actually, I don't know where Wei Yuxian went. She really didn't know that if Wei Yuxian was at school, she would be able to lead this woman to Wei Yuxian right away. But now Wei Yuxian was taken away by an old man to raise a baby, and she had to take a year off from school. How could she possibly know where the old man had taken her? If she had known, Wei Yuxian's life would not have been so easy. Mother Wei looked worried and said, "How can you not know where she is? You must know, right? Right." In a hurry, she stepped forward, grabbed Ding Nana's hand, and shook it a few times. Ding Nana was attacked by the sudden sour smell and was grabbed by her dirty hands. Her heart was about to collapse. Without thinking, she waved away Wei Mu's hand, took a few steps back and shouted, "Don't come over here." After saying that, he covered his mouth and nose with his hands to avoid inhaling more unpleasant smells. Wei's mother also reacted, remembering that she smelled bad, and stopped where she was, not daring to go up any more. She regarded Ding Nana as the only life-saving straw and begged her, "Little girl, aunt, please help me contact Wei Yuxian. Our family is really in trouble. It's not easy for my aunt to come to Beijing. If she can't get the money, she won't even be able to return home." What she said was an exaggeration. Her family was poor now, but not so poor that she couldn't even afford a ticket home. The reason why he said this was to gain Ding Nana's sympathy so that she could tell her the news about Wei Yuxian. So what if she uses a little trick to find someone? Ding Nana doesn't care whether she has money or not, and whether she lives or dies is none of her business. The only thing she cares about is whether this woman can cause trouble to Wei Yuxian. She really didn't want to stay with Wei's mother any longer, so she expressed her thoughts. I really don't know where Wei Yuxian is now, because she is on leave of absence from school for a year. Before she could finish speaking, Mother Wei interrupted her. Suspension of school? Why does this loser want to drop school? Accidentally, she called out that title. When Ding Nana heard her call Wei Yuxian that way, she was even more sure that Wei Yuxian had a bad relationship with her family, and said, because, Wei Yuxian is pregnant. Wei Yuxian came to school for more than a month and was taken care of by an old man. Now she is pregnant, with a big belly and extremely uncomfortable, so she was picked up by the old man to raise the baby. Auntie, aren't you short of money? Wei Yuxian had no money before, but since she started dating the old man, she has so much food and clothing. Even my clothes are not as good as hers. I don't know how much money I have on hand. When Wei's mother heard this, especially the news that Wei Yuxian was now rich, her eyes lit up. She didn't care if Wei Yuxian was being kept by someone else. All she cared about was the words that Wei Yuxian was now rich. After getting pregnant, the celibate Buddhist fiercely dotes on his beloved wife. Author, Ju Yi. Chapter 60. Okay. This loser really cheated her. She obviously has money, but she still lies to her that she has no money. The wings are really hard. She was adopted by someone and had a child, so that man must have paid her a lot of money. Thinking of this, Mother Wei seemed to have seen mountains and seas of money greeting her. It's not a bad trip to Kyoto. She must find Wei Yuxian no matter what and ask her to take out the money. I originally thought of asking her to give him 20,000 yuan, but now that she has the old man's money, how could she only give him 20,000 yuan? Wei's mother made up her mind and asked, little girl, do you know how rich the man who supports Wei Yuxian is? Ding Nana didn't know this, but judging from Wei Yuxian's changes during those days, that man must be very rich, richer than she imagined. There are many wealthy people in Kyoto, there are countless large and small companies, and there are many people who can make money. She said, Auntie, the person who supports her is rich. It won't be a problem for you and Wei Yuxian to get 1.8 million. Mother Wei's eyes brightened even more, and she made up her mind immediately. 1.8 million. Wei Yuxian, a bitch like this, is so rich. She has never seen so much money in her life. It seems that the man this bitch is following is indeed very rich. That's even better. She can ask for more money. Wei's mother was excitedly imagining wildly in her mind, how should she spend so much money? Before she got the money, she started daydreaming. But before she could be happy for too long, another problem came to her mind, that is, she couldn't contact Wei Yuxian at all now. If she couldn't contact anyone, how could she find someone to ask for money? She thought that maybe the little girl in front of her could do something, so she said, little girl, but I can't contact her now. She has blocked me. She can't hear me when I call. Ding Nana is considered a good person and has done it to the end. She said, then you change the number to contact her. You can get through to her by changing the number. Then you must threaten her quickly and don't let her hang up the phone. This way only then can you get the money. In fact, she is not a good person. She is doing this for herself. She is just killing people with Wei Mu's hands. Mother Wei was immediately enlightened. She said thank you several times in a row, and she almost regarded Nana Ding as a great benefactor. If it weren't for this little girl, she really wouldn't know that this bitch is so rich. But what is he if he is not a benefactor? Ding Nana had achieved her goal and no longer wanted to talk to Mother Wei anymore. If she stayed for one more second, she would have vomited the curses at him. If it's okay, I'll leave first. My friend is still waiting for me. Mother Wei said with a smile, okay, okay, little girl, you are such a good person. If it weren't for you, Auntie would really drink the northwest wind when she goes back. Ding Nana strode away from this place. When she was 10 meters away from Wei's mother and could no longer smell the smell, she breathed a sigh of relief and breathed in the fresh air. She hailed a taxi at random on the side of the road, got in quickly and reported her address, fearing that Wei's mother would catch up again. She had already said everything that needed to be said. Whether she could successfully make Wei Yuxian's life difficult or not depended on that woman's ability. I just hope that woman will not disappoint her. She must make Wei Yuxian uncomfortable. Otherwise the suffering she endured today would have been in vain. Wei's mother was still staying where she was. She saw a stone pier on the side of the road. She was tired of standing, so she walked over and sat down. At the same time, she was thinking about what reason she should use to threaten Wei Yuxian so that she would obediently hand over the money. She couldn't make up her mind on her own, so she called Wei's father on WeChat and wanted to have a chat with him. After the call was answered, she first told Wei's father that Wei Yuxian was being kept by someone and was very rich, and then asked Wei's father what reason could be used to make Wei Yuxian obey. Father Wei thought for a while and said two words, reputation. Although it is not as futile as before, and a girl cannot marry if her reputation is gone, but this still has a great impact on a girl. Especially for a girl as old as Wei Yuxian, if someone found out that she was pregnant out of wedlock and being kept by someone else, would she be scolded to death? She probably didn't dare to let this matter get out. Father Wei's idea can be said to be hit the nail on the head. Wei's mother patted her head and said, why didn't I think of this? Husband, you are indeed smarter. Okay, then I'll make some preparations and call her. Father Wei asked, how much are you going to ask her for? Mother Wei looked up at the sky and said, this loser is so rich now, it doesn't matter if we ask more. After raising her for so many years, it's time for her to repay us. Stop talking about this, how much do you want to ask? Mother Wei stopped procrastinating and said directly, 1 million. Father Wei was frightened by her big mouth and asked, is 1 million too much? Can she take it? Wei's mother snorted, if it were her, she definitely wouldn't be able to take it out, but there is an old man behind her, and that old man will definitely be able to take it out. The two of them were so obsessed with money at the moment that they never thought about what the man behind Wei Yuxian would do to them if he knew about this. Their short-sighted eyes can only see the little money in front of them. Father Wei thought for a while, agreed, and said, okay, 1 million is 1 million. With this money, our son's tuition will no longer have to worry about. I also want to buy a car to drive. I'm going to buy gold bracelets, rings, and earrings, Mother Wei said, if I run out of money in the future, I'll keep asking her for it. That old man is rich anyway. The two of them seemed to regard Wei Yuxian and Fu Xuanyi as cash machines. Wei's mother chatted excitedly with Wei's father for a while, feeling sorry for her traffic, so she hung up the phone without further chatting. Traffic is also money. If it exceeds the traffic, you will spend more money. If anything happens, they can go home and talk about it. The most important task now is to contact that bitch. Mother Wei sat on the stone pier for a while, feeling sleepy. In order to prevent herself from falling asleep, she got up and walked, trying to dispel the sleepiness. She had already made up her mind to go to the mobile phone store to buy a new phone card, then call that bitch and ask her to transfer money to her bank card. It wasn't like she hadn't thought about borrowing a cell phone from someone to make a call, but it wouldn't be good if what she wanted to say to Wei Yuxian was heard by others. After thinking about it, she decided to buy a phone card. Anyway, she will have 1 million people in the future. What does it mean to buy a small phone card? Wei's mother found a mobile phone store on the street. After walking for more than 10 minutes, she finally found a mobile phone store. She went inside and spent money to buy a new mobile phone card, put it in the mobile phone and walked out of the mobile phone store,